IU off to embarrassing start. Bloomington, by halftime the Assembly Hall crowd was booing Indiana off the court. Midway through the second half, the Hoosiers trailing Indiana State by 30 points, the crowd was leaving early. With 1.2 seconds left, Coach Archie Miller tried to join them. Indiana State was showing mercy in the final seconds, dribbling out its final possession after bludgeoning the Hoosiers for 39+ minutes, and the shot clock buzzer sounded with 1.2 seconds left. Wanting this thing to be over, Miller slapped IU assistant Bruiser Flint on the knee, rose resignedly and walked toward the scorer's table. He wanted to shake ISU coach Greg Lansing's hand, and then he wanted to get the hell off this court. More on Indiana. 3 reasons IU basketball lost to Indiana State. 90-69 IU basketball got run out of Assembly Hall by Indiana State, and everyone is angry, but no. A referee held up a hand to Miller. "Hold it right there," the referee was saying. Miller did as he was told, and soon enough the horn sounded again, and finally it was over. His first game at IU was in the books, and it was a disaster, a 90-69 loss to an Indiana State team that was 11-20 last season. Long after it was over, I was asking Miller if this long-awaited dream of a night had become a nightmare. He laughed, and not because it was funny. I think he was laughing because a part of him believed something like this, well, not something as ugly as this, but certainly a loss to Indiana State was inevitable. Miller knew he had a soft team on his hands, and that's a word he used several times after the game, soft. He knew he had a team devoid of firepower, a team that won what it did a year ago with offensive superiority, then saw its 3 most talented scorers, James Blackmon Jr., Thomas Bryant and OG Anunoby, leave early for the NBA draft. He knew he had a team still trying to learn his complicated, old-school defensive schemes. And he knew Indiana State had perimeter shooters that were going to test his soft team's defensive deficiencies. So, again, I asked Miller if he'd been thinking about this game and if the result was a nightmare. He laughed. Bitterly, I'd call his laughter. "I've been thinking about this game since we took it on," he said of a game that was scheduled in late July. "I think Indiana State is a terrific program. Coach Greg Lansing does a good job. Anytime you put together these type of matchups here, you better be ready. You better be ready, because you know exactly what you're getting on the other end." And they were a ready team. I'm not looking at this concerned about the future of the program, but it's reality. We're here, and anyone who is smart is gonna look at the schedule and say, these guys have their work cut out of them. Miller has a team devoid of leadership other than Colin Hartman, and Hartman's hurt again. He tweaked his groin on Thursday, and Miller said he could be out a while. Weeks, not days. That's a twofold problem. 1. Hartman is the Hoosiers' best 3-point shooter. 2. He's the steadiest player on an erratic roster, one that Miller clearly has not been able to reach yet. "We'll get better," Miller said. "That's the one thing I have confidence. We'll get better." Well, sure. IU can't get worse. Let's be honest, IU can't even duplicate a performance as bad as this one, a complete and total breakdown, where the Hoosiers allowed Indiana State to shoot 65.4% on 3-pointers, 17 for 26, and shot just 22.2% themselves on 3-pointers, 4 for 18. Juwan Morgan missed a dunk. Robert Johnson and Josh Newkirk missed uncontested layups. Morgan shot an air ball on a 3-pointer. So did Devont Green. The Hoosiers had 19 turnovers. Probably IU's finest moment came in the final 5 minutes, when Freddie McSwain went to the line for 2 free throws. Indiana trailed 88-61. The Hoosiers were playing for pride, and given that they'd shown little of that for 35 minutes, what happened next can't be too surprising. McSwain missed the first free throw. On his second free throw, Senior Robert Johnson, stepped into the lane too soon for a turnover. For good measure, McSwain missed the second free throw anyway. The game was long gone by then. 1 half into the season, 20 minutes into Archie Miller's tenure, The crowd tried to boo the Hoosiers off the court. The IU band started up immediately, drowning out the ugliness with a hasty rendition of the fight song. When Indiana State's Keeler Davis hit a three-pointer to give the Sycamores a 70-40 lead at Assembly Hall, "Read that again please," fans started leaving. A few minutes later Brenton Scott, 24 points, hit Indiana.